Okay, so you have completed your lessons learning about, at least a little bit about, those two ancient cultures, mound builders and ancient Pueblo. So we're going to have our first activity with these pre Columbian people, and it's going to be a debate. So you're going to get this handout from the teacher that's there today. You're going to have to go up and ask them for this handout. I'm just going to kind of look through this with you. You're welcome to read it on your own, but I'm going to read it right now and add a little bit of information that would not be with it. Okay, so I would listen to this first, and then you can read it again later as you start to think about uh, what side of this debate you think you would choose to be on. Okay, and you're gonna have to let me know before you leave class. So here's the deal. In our country, which is a free market economic system, one of the pillars, that means one of the most important parts of a free market system, is allowing people to own private property. This is a right that goes back very far in time. I can tell you without a doubt, it is mentioned in the Magna Carta. That was the great charter signed by English nobles and their king. His name was King John. A very long time ago, the year was 1215, so over 800 years ago, these English nobles forced a king to sign an agreement to lessen the power of a king. And one of the things that they had issue with was that at the time, many kings could just take things that they wanted. I don't know if you've ever heard of an absolute monarch before, but an absolute monarch means a king or queen that has absolute power. They're looked at as being almost divine or semi-divine, and their word is law, and they can do whatever they want. That's how a lot of kings were in Europe, and those monarchies ended with disastrous results in the 17 and 1800s with all kinds of revolutions. All right, in England, things are very, very different. And so there were several rights that nobles wanted, and later these are extended to everybody in the British Empire. Over time, they're called the English Civil Rights. Okay, the English Bill of Rights is what it was called, but they're basically civil rights. So one of the issues was that a king cannot just show up, take your horses, take people, take your land. And this is one of the first times in history in which it's noted that people have a right to private property. Okay, so fast forward to now, modern times, and this is an important right that people have today. We have legal protections in this country. Nobody can just take your land. All right, we have laws. We are a republic of laws. If you don't know what a republic is, it means we have no king or queen. So from the very beginning in 1776 till now, there's this idea in what's to be the United States that people have the right to own property and nobody can take it away. All right? Okay, that's basic right. So you got that. Okay, then you have on the other side of things cultural heritage. So it is well known that indigenous peoples in this country have suffered over time. Beginning right away in the first attempts at colonies, things in some places didn't start off so bad. In other places they did, like right away. But over time, it's clear that native peoples have had the short end of the stick for a long period of time. And you could look at their cultural heritage as being part of what is been going down, losing their heritage. One example in this country was when Indian children from different tribes were taken and forced to go to boarding schools, these Indian boarding schools. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you should Google it. And at these boarding schools, they were basically encouraged through sometimes not so nice ways to give up their heritage, give up their language, give up their traditions, and become more like children in the United States, all right, from all these different Back then, European backgrounds. So those are very controversial, by the way. So you could say that cultural heritage is something that's very important to Native people, and that they have, again, had the short end of the stick on this thing. So those are the two sides, okay? All right, here's what's going on. There's a company in Madison, Wingra Stone. They've been around for a long time. They own many acres of land, and they've been mining that land for decades. There have been found on their land, Wingra property, several effigy mounds. Remember, effigies are made in the likeness of something like animals. In 1990, the state of Wisconsin designated, they made a special state designation now, okay, that um, any remaining mounds on Wingra property would be most likely be also burial mounds, because a lot of effigy mounds did have like remains in them. Not all, okay, not all, but a lot do, okay? So it's believed that these mounds on Wingra property are all not only effigy but burial mounds. And there's that stat: over 90% of mounds found in Wisconsin have contained human remains. Okay, so let me scooch this up. Now, the Burial Sites Preservation Statute in the state of Wisconsin prohibits damaging or removal of Indian mounds if they have human remains. So Wingra Stone continued mining operations on the property. Even though they had these mounds, they didn't touch them. They just worked around them. Get it? So by the early 2000s, this is what's crazy. They worked around those mounds. And now the mounds are all by themselves on a 50-foot high tower, because they mined all the stone around it. Yeah, get it? They mined all around it. So here's the crazy thing: the effigy mounds are now inaccessible to anyone, even if they wanted to visit them. So people can't visit the mounds, first, because they're on private property. Second, as one company official said, mining around the site has created an isolated structure that cannot even be disturbed. The public will never be able to study it, be able to see it, be able to enjoy them. Okay? And there are federal laws that prohibit just regular people like you and I from even going into mining operations because it's dangerous. All right, so you can see what's happening here. The company left them. They mined around it. They're now sitting on top of a 50-foot high tower, and nobody can get to it. So in 2014, this same company, Wingra Stone, applied with that Wisconsin State Historical Society for permission to at least excavate these effigy mounds just to see if there were human remains inside. So if they found human remains, Wingra Stone said, we'll leave them alone. But if the excavation determined there were no remains inside, they wanted to be able to have the right, because it's their property, to deconstruct those mounds and mine the additional $10 million worth of limestone that makes up this tower now that the mines are, or the effigy mounds are on. And the company was willing to hire, with their own money, an archaeologist or more to investigate the mounds. So this went to the Wisconsin House of Representatives, and there were two representatives that introduced a bill. It's called H.R. Bill 620 in the year 2015. That was going to allow property owners the right to excavate a mound. That means like kind of peek inside at their own expense to see if mounds had remains inside. This new H.R. Bill 620 would bypass the state statute that said you cannot touch mounds, you cannot deconstruct them. So remember, legislatures introduce bills because they want to vote on them to one day become a law. So once this came out, there were several demonstrations held in Wisconsin to voice dissent regarding H.R. Bill 620. Native American groups and all kinds of concerned citizens led these demonstrations to say, kill the bill, okay? So that's the issue, and I hope I've explained it well. If not, read through this again. And what I want you to do is I want you to Now pick a side. Now you can't see that. I can't make this go any higher, darn it. But you're going to go to the little survey Google form that I have just underneath this, and you will put in your information and which side that you would support in the debate. Okay? Or do you want to protect the mounds, or do you support private property rights? Okay, do that when you're ready, but you must do it before you leave today. Okay.